Now it's time to talk about context. Now, context is the variable or the dictionary that we have to update that allows our templates to work with any particular data, right? So like when we did this HTTP response, we could write a string of our own data inside of it. But inside of a template, it's a little bit different. How does the template get data to work with? Like, how do I actually have a list of items here? So li, and then, all the li list items. How do I actually do that? That is what context allows us to do. It's really simple. We've already done our query, so we've already asked the database for data. So now in our context, I can actually do something like query set or like object list and then QS being equal to whatever that list is. In this case, it's the query set. Adding this into our context or into that context dictionary means that we can actually use it in our template. So I can use these curly brackets and do query set list, which is the variable name of that context because we named it here. This is naming it. This is setting it. Key value. So that those key value pairs allow us to write all of our own variables inside of any particular template. And the template renders those variables. So if I refresh in here, it's showing nothing. So let's make sure that our views are saved. So everything is saved. We got everything up and we're not getting our query set list because, well, we called our context object list, not query set list. So we come in here and we put it in as query set list. We refresh and now we've got that list. So these are the list items that we can actually iterate through. Again, this is not about templates, but I will show you something that allows you to iterate through those items. And that is doing curly brackets % for object in and object list, and then parentheses, % and curly brackets. And then at the end of it, we do end for. So in that for loop, inside of that for loop, we can do object underscore list dot title, object dot title, because we called this variable object. Again, these things are discussed in the template project. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those two. We save that, and now I refresh in here. Now I actually have some context that I can work with. So all sorts of things that are related to this we can do. So object.id, object.slug, all of those things. Save that, and we refresh. So we can actually see that stuff in real time. So that is something that's really nice about using these context variables inside of any particular request. Those two things in conjunction with each other definitely rely and make our templates more valuable and more functioning than they are by themselves, than just HTML. Now that context, it provides context. Those context dictionary provides context to any HTML page, but more importantly, it turns the HTML page to being a more dynamic page. Because if you are learning Django, you know that HTML is not that dynamic in of itself. That is, there's really no way for me to actually list out all these items unless I wanted to type it out. Like list item 1, so I'll just say new post, and then I could just manually write this stuff out. And then I can say Tesla, and notice how long it's taking me just to type it, where once I typed this, now it's going to have every list item or every item in the database dynamically. So we can even test that by going back into the admin, going into posts, create a new post and say another new post, and we hit save. Then we go back into our URL for blog and we see that that other post was created. Really useful, a nice feature that Django has in of itself with that combination of template and context. So context can be other things too. You can use other dictionaries. So let's say, for instance, I want to say some dictionary. I could put this dictionary in here. ABC is 1, 2, 3. That also means that I can put a number in here. So, let's just call it num. And we'll just do 1, 2, 3. I can put an array or a list in here. Array is another term for list in other programming languages. And I can use all of these things in the template based off of the variable name that we gave them. So in here, I could come in and do array list, and that should show that out, and it does. We could do num, all sorts of things in here, and that's what context allows us to do. Of course, you can put a Boolean value too, so Boolean underscore value, and we just say true, we can actually use that as well. And all of these variable names in the context are just really, I mean, they're just arbitrary. Object list itself is kind of a better practice of calling this, especially when it gets to using class-based views. But object list is what I would end up doing for any particular object. These other ones are just examples so you can see them. Okay, so if you have any questions on what we did with context, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.